Hey, what's up, YouTube? I'm Cody, and I'm out here in the shed. We're getting some stuff cleaned up, just off season, putting some stuff away that I've been putting off that I haven't wanted to deal with. But while I was out here, I wanted to shoot a little video and talk about my year in review. Not so much my year in review as far as like performance and races and things like that, but really go into depth of what I've learned as a father and an athlete competing this year, and kind of things I've screwed up mainly, a lot of mistakes I've made, things I'm going to correct for next year, and just kind of go over my year and kind of all the lessons I've learned as a dad while trying to still be an athlete and be competitive in triathlon and all the things about that. So I'm going to get a little chair set up here and sit down, and we'll shoot this little video here. All right, so yeah, I wanted to do a little video and just talk about like my year in review and kind of all the things I've learned. I'm not really going to talk about like race specific results and things like that. Like I've done the videos for that as far as like all the races I've done this year and the in-depth of the racing. So I'm not going to go into really details and just kind of like the overview of my year and all the lessons really I've learned and mainly the things I've screwed up this year as a dad. So I mean, just to give a general overview of my race year, like I kind of planned out, I look at it as like a season and plan out a whole season. And I started racing in May and ended in December racing 70.3 half Ironman down at Indian Wells. So raced 7 times this year. Mainly did 5, there's a really good local series in San Diego. So it was 5 local races in San Diego. Sprint and mainly Olympic distance, like international distance stuff. And then October did the T100 in Las Vegas, and then December did the Indian Wells half Ironman. So that was kind of the season and kind of what I did this year. Results wise, it was a great year. Like I did very well. So if you're concerned about, being a parent or thoughts about being a parent, like, I mean, hey, I had one of my best race years ever as far as just results across the board went. Set a lot of PRs and did really well in that aspect. But mainly like the mistakes and what I've learned and what I'm going to change next year and why I did this video is, starting off with the things that I think I messed up this year that I want to make adjustments with. And probably the biggest thing that really was a mistake is I raced too much. I think 7 races was a bit much to bite off. And at the beginning of the season when I set out for this, there was conversations, like me and my wife were both on board with it. It was something that we felt was doable. And coming into December at Indian Wells, like we were both very tired. Like I was after after the T100 in October, like I was physically and mentally like spent. I didn't have a lot. It really took me a lot to get back into gear to get ready for Indian Wells in December. And I think my wife felt the same way. Like it requires a lot of her. Like when I race and when I train, like she has to pick up a lot of the slack, and I do my very best to try to make sure it's as least impactful on our lives as it can. But listen, racing and training and stuff, it's still an impact. So we were tired by the end of the year, and there was a lot of factors that came into play with that. I think one of the bigger ones was 2023 when I ended the year racing Indian Wells in December. I didn't know how much training or what this year was going to look like for me, so I really didn't take any off time. I just continued training all through winter. All basically just didn't take any off time. I just trained straight through after that race, and that turned basically, I mean, the last time I took like a good chunk of time off was probably like 2 years ago of training. That was like more than like 3, 4, 5 days maybe. So I just physically, from that standpoint, like I was burnt. It made it a long season to not really have any breaks. I think that was a big mistake. Also I think what really did it was, well, it's twofold. I'll start with one. T100 wasn't in the race plan when we first started the year. I didn't enter that race until I I think sometime around April was when I actually entered that race, and when we kind of decided to do that race. It was a week after the last race of my local series. So in October, I raced an Olympic distance race, and the next week I raced that T100 race. That was a huge undertaking by itself, like racing back-to-back weekends, training for that whole situation, logistically trying to get ready between the races and all that. Like, that was a big undertaking, because it wasn't just the race. It's, okay, I raced one weekend, and then that whole week was not exactly like a off week or rest week. Like, logistically had to get everything ready to then get my wife and my son on a plane to fly to Vegas when I was going to drive out there and then do the race in Las Vegas and then get home. Like, as a big undertaking, and racing back to back for me physically was I think about the limit of what my body could handle, and that really took a huge toll on me. Hindsight, had I done T100, I should have pulled out of Indian Wells, or I should have just done Indian Wells. I think had I just done like one bigger race this year, I think it would be a lot different story for both of us, come the end of the year. I think trying to pack both of those in was a bit much. Also, to be frank and honest, like Indian Wells, when I entered Indian Wells for this year, it's the third year I've done it. I was just like, I got the email like right after I did the race about, pre-registration, and I kind of entered it on a whim. I didn't have, and me and my wife didn't have like a fully fleshed out conversation at that point of what this year was going to look like and if we were really going to do Indian Wells. So that was completely on me about just kind of being an idiot about that whole situation. We had talked about it, but we hadn't like had the full blown discussion of being like, okay, like let's do this race and like let's go forward. Like, we had just kind of casually talked about doing it, but it wasn't like a fully worked out conversation. And I think that kind of created some tension about Indian Wells in general, just because I didn't include her in the conversation, and I kind of just made that decision about like, hey, we're going to do Indian Wells, and without fully bringing her on board, which was completely my bad, and she's justified in having a negative opinion about that, because that's on me. So I think those two things like created just some friction about that race specifically, and then T100, it created a really long year. We were both super tired. So, I don't know if we would have learned it without doing it. We kind of just had to do it and get through it to understand like, hey, this is a bit much. So this upcoming season, what we're changing is I came to my wife and I just said, hey, like, you build my race calendar. Like, the races that we do every year and I want to do every year. You build it, and you pick the races that logistically make the most sense to have a kid at, and are easy for you to be at and fun to watch and all those things. And I'm going to race them. And the ones that don't make sense, I'm going to be happy with. So, so far we've picked 4 races out that I think I'm going to race next year. No big races. They're all going to be the local, San Diego Tri-Series races. Super excited about it. Like, I still get to race and run and do races, and train. And, it's going to be best case scenario for her, because she's going to, do the races that there are some races that just logistically are easier for her to watch and spectate and have a kid at. And to be fair, like, Indian Wells is maybe the worst of them all. Logistically for a spectator, it's a nightmare. That's another subject, but that race is a nightmare for fans. Vegas was great. She actually really enjoyed that race, but I think just the traveling and all that stuff, it's a whole another animal. So 4 races next year, all local. We're still picking out the ones of the local series I think that we are going to be the best at, but kind of have a good idea of what that's going to look like. So that's what kind of the big changes for next season are going to be, is just the race calendar and schedule and how much we're racing. We're paring it back. But like I said, I still get to race, and I'm still a dad, so I still get to kind of focus on both of them, which is great. One thing too that I was a bit hard-nosed about in the beginning of the year that I kind of started to back off on, was including my wife and son in my training, as far as like, she would ask me like, hey, can we go for a run and do a family run? Like, we got a stroller that I can put him in and run. And I was always like a bit hard-nosed, or like gave her pushback on it, because I felt like it wasn't going to be good quality workout. I wasn't going to get like the best perfect workout in because I'm pushing a stroller and yada, yada, yada. And realized I kind of backed off on that, because I'm like, like, what this, I can include my wife. We can spend some time together. I still get a workout. Is it like the perfect, whatever interval workout that I would have loved to do that day? No, it's not, but I'm still working out and I get to spend time with my family. They get to be there. Like, it's just good for everyone. So I'm probably going to add more of that in this year. And I kind of started adding it in towards the end of the year also. And really what I found too is pushing a stroller, like, obviously me and my wife are different fitness levels. I run a little bit faster than her, but me pushing a stroller, if we're going like, if I just want to do like an easy run, I can push a stroller at, an easy pace. And it slows me way down. So then we can actually run together. So, I kind of found like, it does kind of like, we can actually run together and enjoy a workout. And I'm still getting, if I want to do like an easy run, great. I can run an easy run at like a 9-10 minute pace, because I'm pushing a stroller with a kid in it, and it's still, heart rate's still where it needs to be. And, she can keep up and we can enjoy a nice little run. So, we'll be adding in those. I don't know, biking is another thing. That's, I do most of my training indoors anyway, so that is what it is. And, swimming, I swim in a lake. When it makes sense, they come down and hang out on the shore. There's a nice little grass area and playground where I try to bring them down when I can, but some days just the weather's no good, or timing or whatever it is just don't make sense. But again, just trying to bring the family involved and including them more into just the training, so it's not so much just me going off and disappearing. I think maybe one of the bigger things that I struggle with, it's not even so much racing specific, but I really do struggle with this, just being like ADD and ADHD and all the things, is when I am not training and when I'm not working, whatever it is, like when I'm with my family, to be present and not be distracted by training and racing and thinking about training and racing and all of the other things that come and evolve with that. I get so easily sucked down these rabbit holes to, I might not actually be physically training, but mentally, like, I'm thinking about it, and then I'm not actually there with my family. That's a huge thing that I am really trying to adjust for next year, because I just want to be present when I'm actually there. So that's not even so much like race specific, but like I am making adjustments as opposed to like how I interact with even like social media and trying to like really pare that stuff down and figure out how to separate myself, because it's not fair for me to train and have like realistically like that as my me time. That's the time I have to be selfish, is when I train. I don't also then get to step off a bike and, because I'm tired from training or I'm still trying to do other things, like be physically there but not actually present. So that's a big focus that I'm really trying to make an adjustment about and be very aware about, is like, just because I'm tired from a race doesn't mean like I still have to be a dad and I still have to be present, like, or I'm tired from training. It's easy for me to check out, but like you can't do that. And it's something that I am really trying to work on next year, or right now really, is trying to be present when I need to be. And when I'm training, that's training, and doing that. So that's kind of one of the things I'm working on. A couple of the upsides, things that I've learned this year that have kind of surprised me about training and being a dad. I think one, like, there's a lot of motivation that comes along with being a dad. And I think we're always like looking for motivation and things like that as parents or athletes to try to get motivation. Listen, there's a lot of motivation you can draw on from like being a dad, and like not even so much like in the race motivation, but also to like training like it comes to a simple fact of being like, if I wake up and if I have a 2-minute or 2-hour window to train because he's down for a nap or something, if I don't train in that 2-hour window, I don't train, period. There's no training happening. So it kind of has forced me to be be motivated to be like, listen, for my training, I train now where I don't train. I don't have another window. So my training I've been very focused about. But even then too, like the race day motivation and things, like I know he's not going to remember this stuff. He's a bit young for it, but like I still am trying to instill and set an example of being like, we're not quitters. We're people that finish stuff. We finish strong. Like all the things about endurance sports are still lessons in life that I'm trying to live. At some point, he might appreciate it. He's not going to remember it or anything now, but we'll be able to look back and hopefully down the road when I'm still doing this stuff and he can actually be old enough to remember it. He sees that about the sport. Another thing too that I realized that was kind of interesting about racing and this is, I've raced for a long time in various sports, essentially my whole life. So race day nerves aren't like a massive problem for me, but you still get some of them. And I love that about racing, is feeling the race day nerves and getting a little nervous about the race. But one thing I've realized is having your son and having your wife there in the morning kind of takes you out of the race and doesn't fully allow me to feel the race day nervousness. Like I don't have all morning to like worry about race because like I still got to be a dad, and I'm still trying to help out in the morning before races and carry him and whatever, get my wife set up for the day. So I've learned, that I don't have all race morning to kind of get mentally prepped to race. And it comes to a point where I've kind of been like, okay, 15, 20 minutes before the race starts, now it's the time to be like, okay, hey, are you guys set up? Now I kind of need to get myself into race mode. And I've learned to kind of flip that switch as opposed to like gradually get into the race mode. I've really gotten accustomed to going from, all right, I'm dad, to now, okay, I need to be in the race mode. I need to get my head straight. I need to get ready for what we're setting out to do. And it's kind of allowed me to not feel as much race day nerves as I think I used to, because I'm just not able to think about it until the very last minute when you're just like on the line, hey, I need to go. So that's kind of been, I think, something that's really been an upside about it. Otherwise, like I said, it's been a great year. I've made mistakes. I'm trying to correct them. I want to continue to race, and making sure that being a dad and being a parent is still number one, and the sports and the athletics, it needs to be second, and trying to maintain and evaluate where I'm at and how I did this year. And that's kind of where I'm at. So hopefully this is a helpful video, kind of going over this and you get to learn something. I want to be honest and hopefully kind of say like, dude, I've screwed some stuff up this year, but I'm going to fix it. I want to do better, and I want to be the best dad I can more than I want to be the best athlete I can. So that's the plan. It's off season for me. I am fixing that this year. I am taking an off season and actually giving my body and just taking a break. And I'll start training here. I don't know. I've been off for 2 weeks. I'll probably start training and, soon, but it's going to be very casual. We'll see how it goes. But we're planning next season, and I kind of do some fun off-site. I have some ideas for some stuff I want to do off-season. I want to try and run a 5-minute mile and do some other dumb stuff while I am on off-season. So hope you guys liked the video. Thanks for joining. If you made it this far, appreciate it. And you guys take care.